The crowd was cheering. Balloons were floating. My sister Maya screamed, "Oh my God!" as she ran toward the red sports car parked in our driveway wrapped in a glossy ribbon thicker than my wrist. And me, I was standing there still holding an empty cake plate watching her wrap her arms around our parents like she'd just won the lottery. 30 seconds later, while people were still snapping pictures of Maya posing in front of her new car, Mom turned to me, handed me a tray stacked with dirty dishes, and said, "Can you take care of these, honey? No thank you for helping organize the party. No, how are you feeling?" Just dishes. So many dishes. That was the moment I realized something was deeply wrong in our house. And it wasn't about the car. It was about everything before the car and everything that came after. The party was extravagant lavender themed with string lights and an actual photo booth. People from Maya's school were everywhere, including that football player she likes. I was invisible, floating in and out like hired help. I even heard someone ask, "Is she the caterer?" But the real gut punch came a minute later when I heard Maya say, "Oh, Chloe, that's just my sister. Just. Not my amazing sister who helped decorate all morning. Not my best friend growing up. Just my sister." You're probably wondering, why would parents do that, favor one child so openly, especially when we're only 2 years apart? Well, I asked myself the same thing, and at first I thought maybe I was overreacting. Maybe the car was a reward. Maya is a senior. Maybe she needed it for college visits or something. That's what Dad said anyway when I cornered him in the kitchen after the party. "She's got extracurriculars, Chloe. She's been more responsible lately." Responsible. The girl who forgot our aunt's birthday and left wet towels on the floor every day. Still, I bit my tongue. For years I've done that, quietly taking what I'm given, waiting for my turn. But after the party, things didn't get better. They got worse. I started noticing the subtle things first. Maya got new clothes again, 3 shopping bags from the mall laid out like trophies on her bed. I asked Mom for new shoes because mine were literally coming apart at the soles. She told me we have to watch expenses right now. Right. Except the week after she and Maya went out for sushi, and posted about it. Then came the moment that broke me in a quieter way. I couldn't find the bracelet Grandma gave me, a little silver charm bracelet with my initials etched in it. I tore my room apart looking for it. Thought I lost my mind. A week later, I saw it on Maya's wrist. When I asked her about it, she blinked, shrugged, and said, "Oh, I found it in the laundry room. Thought you didn't want it anymore." I wanted to scream. But instead, I said nothing. Again. Until I overheard them, Mom and Dad. In the living room late at night. The lights were off, but their voices were sharp, low, and fast. "I told you this would get worse the older they got," Mom hissed. "She's starting to notice," Dad said. "We made a promise. We had no choice. We're already under financial strain, and now this party." That word again. Strain. And a promise. I froze in the hallway, 1 foot still on the staircase, not sure if I should go up or demand answers. But I didn't say anything. Not then. Because something in their tone told me the truth was heavier than I could handle. Not yet. That night I lay awake wondering what they meant. Was Maya adopted? Did someone owe someone something? Was there a debt, a secret? Whatever it was, it changed everything. And I knew one thing for sure, I wasn't imagining it. This wasn't teenage jealousy. This was a pattern. And I wasn't going to let it keep unfolding without answers. So I started watching, listening, waiting. And what I found next was just the beginning. I used to think silence was safe. That when people lowered their voices or shut doors behind them, it was to protect something fragile. Now I know better. In this house, silence hides things. Secrets, promises, priorities that don't include me. It started with a whisper behind the pantry door. Mom's voice low but tense. She's noticing Brian. Dad's reply barely audible. "We just have to hold it together a little longer." Hold what together? And why did it feel like I was the one being held? Apart the next morning, things were oddly normal. Too normal. Maya was lounging on the couch, texting and laughing like she hadn't worn my bracelet last week without asking. Mom made pancakes. Dad read the paper. I sat across from them watching, but they wouldn't look up. I felt like a ghost at a breakfast I didn't belong to. I wanted to scream, "I heard you. I heard everything." But instead, I asked casually, "What did you mean about financial strain?" That's when Dad did the thing he always does, lifts his mug like a shield and says, "Just grown-up stuff, sweetheart." Sweetheart. It sounded so fake coming from him. And then Mom chimed in, "You don't need to worry about things like that. Focus on school, okay?" I nodded, but inside, I felt like a pressure cooker ready to explode. They weren't just hiding something. They were protecting Maya from it and keeping me in the dark. Why I started paying closer attention. One day, Maya forgot her phone on the kitchen counter. I saw a text from Mom flash across the screen. "Don't forget, Dr. Keller apt. Reshed to 3 p.m. I'll pick you up." Dr. Maya hadn't mentioned being sick. When I asked her later how her day went, she casually said, "Boring, nothing special, nothing now." I knew they were hiding things from each other too. That's when the unease really set in. Because I wasn't sure if Maya knew the full story either. A few nights later, I went down to the laundry room and found the door cracked open. Inside, Mom was sitting on the floor with a box of old photo albums, wiping her face with a dish towel. She looked up startled. "Chloe, can I help you? I just needed clean socks." She quickly shoved something back into the box and said, "They're in the dryer." I didn't move. I just stared at her, the way her hand trembled, the way she avoided my eyes. That box, those albums held something, but the way she clutched them told me I wouldn't get answers that night. So I searched elsewhere. Maya's room. Yes, I know. But when the rules are already uneven, you stop playing fair. I wasn't looking for revenge, I was looking for logic. And in her desk drawer, tucked behind a stack of notebooks, I found something strange. An envelope addressed to our parents. But it wasn't in either of their handwriting. The return address was a law firm. It was opened, but the letter inside was mostly blank, except for one line underlined. "This fulfills our obligation. Do not contact us further." Our obligation to who and why was Maya's name scribbled in the corner of the envelope. That night I lay awake with the letter under my mattress and questions spinning through my head. Was Maya not really my sister? Was she someone they took in because of a deal, or something worse, something involving money? Suddenly every memory tilted sideways. The birthday parties that were always hers, the quiet excuses when my field trip forms went missing, the fact that Maya never had chores ever. This wasn't favoritism anymore. This was something structural, intentional. And yet, despite all the clues I was gathering, nothing added up. Because my parents didn't look like liars. They looked like people trying to hold a glass house together with trembling hands. But that only made me more determined. If they wanted me in the dark, fine. I'd become my own flashlight. I started searching the attic. Old boxes, documents, school records, even tax folders. Anything. And that's when I found it. A file folder labeled medical, but not under anyone's name I recognized. Inside a single sheet of paper. An agreement signed by my parents and someone else. A name I'd never heard, and a line that said guardianship to remain until legal age. Maya's age. That was the first time I realized the car, the clothes, the silence. It wasn't just about favoritism. It was about a promise, a binding one. But I still didn't know what it meant. And I wasn't ready to confront them, not yet. Because when the truth finally came out, I needed to be sure I could survive it. People don't notice the moment you stop trusting them. They don't see the little flicker in your eyes, or how your shoulders stiffen when they say your name. But inside, something shifts. You stop asking questions, and start keeping score. After the letter, after the cryptic medical folder, I couldn't see my parents or Maya the same way. Every smile felt rehearsed. Every gesture a transaction. So I stopped trying to earn their approval. I started watching, documenting, noticing. And what I noticed first was everything Maya didn't have to ask for. She wanted a new dress for winter formal. It magically appeared in her closet. She mentioned needing cash for a school fundraiser. Mom slipped her a folded $20 while handing me a grocery list and coupons. Then one afternoon, Maya threw a tantrum because her favorite mascara had dried out. I walked past the bathroom and caught her whining to Mom. "Can't you just get me a new one?" Mom's response. "A kiss on the forehead, and I'll pick one up after work." That same week, I asked if I could go to the bookstore to grab a used SAT prep guide. You know what Mom said. Let's not be wasteful, Chloe. You can use your sister's old one. I flipped through it later. Half the pages were missing. Maya had doodled stars and eyeliner tips across most of the math section. So I made a decision. I wouldn't ask anymore. Not for rides. Not for money. Not for fairness. Instead, I started pushing boundaries. When Maya left her car keys on the counter one night, I took the car for a short drive around the block. Not because I needed to go anywhere. Just to feel what freedom felt like. Just to feel equal. And when I came home and parked it exactly where she left it, no one noticed. Then there was the day Maya lost her AirPods. Cue the dramatics. Screaming, slamming doors, the whole 9 yards. She was sure someone took them. 2 days later, I found them. In the laundry basket. Tucked inside a pair of my jeans. When I showed her expecting a thank you, she just rolled her eyes and muttered, "Well, you wear my clothes sometimes." I don't. I never have. But that moment it cracked something. Because she wasn't just careless. She was entitled. And for the first time, I didn't feel sad about the distance between us. I felt angry. Later that week, something more precious disappeared. A music box. It was one of the few things I had from when I was little, a small wooden box that played Clair de Lune when you turned the brass key. Grandma gave it to me before she passed. I kept it tucked in the corner of my nightstand, always closed, always safe. And then it was gone. I tore my room apart, the floor, the drawers under the bed. I even checked the garbage cans. Nothing. I finally went into Maya's room when she was at practice, really hoping it was just a mistake. There it was, on her dresser. The key half turned, the song frozen mid-note. I stared at it for so long I thought I might cry, but I didn't. I picked it up quietly, returned it to my room, and said nothing. But that night I stopped pretending. This wasn't favoritism. It was theft. Of things. Of trust. Of identity. The next morning, Maya smirked across the kitchen table. "Lose anything recently?" she asked, biting into a strawberry like it was a joke. I didn't flinch. I just said, "Not anymore." That was the first moment I saw a flicker in her eyes. Not guilt, not fear. Recognition. She knew I was changing, and she didn't like it. Later that day, I found Mom in the garage sorting boxes. I walked up behind her and asked, "Do you remember who gave me that music box?" She froze. Her hands tightened around a bundle of extension cords. "Yes," she said after a pause. "Your grandmother. Then why was it in Maya's room?" A long silence. "Then I'll talk to her." But she didn't. And I knew she wouldn't. That night I went back to the attic. This time I brought gloves, a flashlight, a plan. And in a rusted metal filing cabinet behind a stack of water-stained tax records, I found a torn folder marked "Private." Inside, more legal paperwork. But this time, with dates. Dates that preceded Maya's birth certificate. Dates that didn't match any timeline I'd ever been told. And one sentence that turned my stomach cold: guardianship to be granted in exchange for financial support beginning June 2007. Maya was born in 2008, so what happened before she came into our lives? And what exactly did my parents agree to? The clues were unraveling. But the truth was still hiding, and I was done waiting for it to find me. The deeper I dug, the more the house felt unfamiliar. Same furniture, same walls, same faces, but everything was tinted with a lie I couldn't name yet. I was no longer looking for fairness. I was looking for truth and bracing for the kind that breaks you. I didn't sleep the night I found the guardianship papers. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, my mind piecing together fragments, like a jigsaw puzzle with edges missing. A deal made before Maya was born. Financial support in exchange for custody. What did that mean? Was she someone else's child? Adopted or worse? Was she never supposed to be part of this family at all? And if that was true, why did it cost me everything? The next morning I skipped breakfast and went straight to the attic again. This time I knew where to look. Behind an old suitcase marked Xmas lights. I found another box, one I hadn't noticed before. Inside were years of photo albums. Birthday parties, beach trips, school plays. But something felt off. In every photo, Maya was front and center, beaming in party dresses, perched on Dad's shoulders, grinning with chocolate cake on her chin. Me, I was in the background, blurry, cropped out, sometimes not even there. Then I noticed something else. The early albums before Maya was born were almost empty. A few photos of me as a toddler, some candid shots with mom, but starting in 2008, the albums exploded with pictures. Suddenly, everything was documented, and Maya was always smiling. Then I found the envelope. Taped to the back of one album, sealed and yellowed with age. My heart pounded as I peeled it open. Inside was a folded letter handwritten in loopy cursive. It wasn't signed, but the message was clear. Thank you for doing this. I know we agreed it would be temporary, but I'm in no place to raise a child. I can't be what she needs. Please tell her only what's necessary. She doesn't need to know about me, ever. No name, no return address. But it confirmed what I'd feared. Maya wasn't ours. Not by birth, not by accident, by agreement. I clutched the letter in both hands, staring at the words until they blurred. So many questions burned in my chest, but one rose above the rest. Why her? Why did they pour everything into Maya? Why was I the one who had to disappear to make space for someone else's child? I went downstairs and found Dad in the garage fiddling with a wrench like it was a lifeline. I stood in the doorway holding the letter. We need to talk. He looked up slowly. His face didn't show surprise, only fatigue. You found it, he said quietly. I nodded. So it's true, he sighed. Yes. Then tell me everything. We sat at the kitchen table, just the two of us. Dad folded his hands, stared down at them like they held the story. Her mother was a close friend of your mom's, someone from college. She was going through a bad time. Drugs, legal trouble. She had Maya and couldn't keep her. She begged us to take her just for a while. And the money, he winced. It wasn't what you think. Maya's biological grandfather, he had resources. He said if we took responsibility, he'd make sure we were financially stable. It wasn't blackmail. It was desperation on all sides. And me, I asked, voice cracking. Where was I in that plan? He didn't answer, which told me everything. I went to my room, locked the door, and cried for the girl I used to be, the one who thought love in a family was automatic, equal, unshakable. It wasn't. It was transactional, negotiated, signed on dotted lines. And even if they loved me, I'd never be the reason for a celebration. I'd always be the one doing dishes while someone else got the car. But later that night, something unexpected happened. Maya came into my room without knocking. She stood there awkwardly, arms crossed. I know something's going on, she said. You've been different. I didn't reply. She sat on the edge of my bed. I found the music box. I knew it was yours. I shouldn't have taken it. Silence. Then she added, I heard Mom and Dad talking. Something about a promise. About me. I looked at her for a long time. She looked scared. Not smug. Not entitled. Just lost. Just like me. I opened my nightstand drawer and handed her the letter. She read it in silence, her hands shaking. When she finished, she whispered, So, I'm not really... No, I said gently. But you are here. That part's real. We sat in silence for a long time, two girls in the same house, raised like sisters, torn apart by truth, bound again by confusion. But one thing was clear now. The truth was no longer a secret. It was a shared burden. And we'd both have to decide what came next. The next morning, the house felt quieter, not peaceful, heavy, like everyone was walking on glass. I hadn't told Mom I knew, not yet, not with words. But something in my eyes must have given it away, because when I walked into the kitchen, she paused mid-pour with the orange juice and said, We should talk. I just nodded. She didn't sit down. She stayed standing, arms folded, her wedding ring catching the sunlight like it might deflect the truth. I wanted to tell you, she began, voice soft, too soft. But we didn't know how, or when. And by the time we figured it out, you were already old enough to remember everything. And we thought, maybe if we kept it, even you'd never feel the difference. I let out a dry laugh. Even you bought her a car and gave me a sponge. She flinched. I'm sorry, Chloe. I really am. But you have to understand. We made a promise. Her mother was falling apart, and we swore we'd raise Maya as our own. That meant giving her stability, consistency, love. And what about me, I asked. Her lips trembled. You were always so strong, she whispered. That word again. Strong. The one people use when they want you to be quiet while they fall apart. Later that day, I sat outside on the porch. The sun was out, but I felt frozen inside. Maya joined me sitting in the chair next to mine, hugging her knees. I feel like my life just cracked in half, she said. Yeah, I replied. Welcome to the other side. I'm sorry, Chloe. I didn't know. I nodded. I believed her. But that didn't erase the damage. I used to think you were just spoiled, I admitted. But you were just protected, at my expense. She didn't argue, she didn't defend herself, and that silence said more than any apology ever could. That night we had a family meeting. Dad called it. We sat around the living room like strangers, pretending to be a family again. No one touched the cookies Mom had set out. Dad cleared his throat. We want to explain everything fully now that it's out. I waited. Mom looked down, twisting a tissue in her hand. Dad continued. Maya's biological mother was named Colleen. She was a friend of your mom's. She got into trouble, serious trouble. Drugs, fraud, jail time. She was pregnant when she reached out. She asked if we could adopt Maya, Mom added, voice shaking. We weren't sure. We were barely making ends meet. But then her father stepped in, Maya's grandfather. He said he'd provide for her, Dad said. If we took her in and raised her like our own, full guardianship, no formal adoption, no questions, just care. So he bought her place in our family, I said. Dad's face hardened. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like, I demanded. There was a long silence. Finally, Mom answered. It was like survival. I didn't know what to say to that. Was I angry? Yes. But also, I understood, in a twisted, awful way. They thought they were saving one life without realizing they were slowly starving another. Mine. After that night, nothing really fixed itself. There were no magical hugs, no healing music playing as we bonded over shared trauma. But something shifted. Maybe not forgiveness. Not yet. But honesty. And that was a start. The next morning, Maya came into my room holding 2 mugs of coffee. Peace offering, she said. I took one without smiling. She sat beside me. Do you hate me, she asked. I looked at her, really looked. For the first time in weeks, she didn't look polished or smug or special. She looked scared. I don't hate you, I said, but I don't know how to feel yet. That's fair. We sat there sipping coffee in silence. Not friends, not enemies, just 2 girls caught in a truth no one warned us about. And even now I still wonder if that envelope hadn't fallen into my hands. If I'd never overheard that conversation. If I'd just kept washing dishes and swallowing my voice. Would any of this have come to light? Would I still believe I was just unworthy of love? Maybe it's better this way. Even if it hurts. Even if I don't know what's next. Because sometimes the truth doesn't set you free. Sometimes it just shows you the cage you were already in, and forces you to decide if you're going to stay there. Some things don't end with a bow. There's no neat conclusion, no sudden peace that makes everything okay. Just a slow settling, like dust after a storm. It's been weeks since the truth came out. We don't talk about it every day, but we don't pretend anymore either. Maya and I still share a roof, a bathroom, a history neither of us asked for. We fight less, but we also laugh less. We're learning each other all over again, without the layers of assumption and resentment. That's harder than I thought it would be. My parents, they try. Sometimes too hard. Mom's making dinner more. Dad checks in more often awkwardly, like he's afraid I'll shatter. But the part of me that shattered, it's already gone. In its place is something different, stronger, sharper, a version of myself that sees clearly now, that understands love isn't always fair, that sometimes families are built on secrets, and survival isn't the same as connection. I don't hate them, I don't hate her, but I've stopped waiting for anyone to make space for me. I'm carving it myself now. College applications are in. I'm applying farther than I ever thought I would, not to escape, but to become, because now I know the truth. I was never just the other daughter. I was the one who stayed awake long enough to see the cracks. And I won't apologize for that. Not anymore.